Good morning. It's good to be in this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend. Looking forward to a busy week this week. I've got a golly, looking at the calendar. I keep a calendar across my wall, so sometimes when I talk about the date, I have to look across the wall and say we are. So we have I have roughly 3 more weeks in the office here, but really two because that last week I'll be in conference for most of it. So we got a lot of work to get done with Ecclesiastes, don't we? So we'll see. I think we'll get it, but it's gonna be challenging. We'll finish it. I have confidence in our ability because hey, we're gonna do all of chapter five today. So we're looking at chapter five today. Today is as we talked about, the teacher in Ecclesiastes is unnamed. We don't know for sure who it is, but it seems there are certain chapters and passages that to me feel a lot like Proverbs, which is much of it is attributed to Solomon. So today's chapter especially feels a lot like Proverbs to me. So we're going to read all of chapter 5 today, verses 1 through 20. So it's going to have several different themes. My scripture entitles it Reverence, Humility, and Contentment. So you're going to see those things kind of flow throughout today's reading. So let's read Ecclesiastes 5. Guard your steps when you go to the house of God. To draw near to listen is better than the sacrifice offered by fools, for they do not know how to keep from doing evil. Never be rash with your mouth, nor let your heart be quick to utter a word before God, for God is in heaven and you are upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. For dreams come with many cares, and a fool's voice with many words. When you make a vow to God, do not delay fulfilling it, for he has no pleasure in fools. Fulfill what you vow. It is better that you should not vow than you should vow and not fulfill it. Do not let your mouth lead you into sin. Do not say before the messenger that it was a mistake. Why should God be angry at your words and destroy the work of your hands? With many dreams come vanities and a multitude of words. But fear God. If you see in a province the oppression of the poor, the violation of justice and right, do not be amazed at the matter. For the high official is watched by a higher, and there are yet higher ones above over them. But all things considered, this is an advantage for a land, a king for a plowed field. The lover of money will not be satisfied with money, nor the lover of wealth with gain. This also is vanity. When goods increase, those who eat them increase. And what gain has their owner but to see them with his eyes? Sweet is the sleep of laborers, whether they eat little or much. But the surfeit of the rich will not let them sleep. It is a grievous ill that I have seen under the sun. Riches were kept by those owners to their hurt, and those riches were lost in a bad venture. Though they are parents of children, they have nothing in their hands. As they came from their mother's womb, so shall they go again, naked as they came. They shall take nothing for their toil, which they may carry away with their hands. This is also a grievous ill. Just as they came, so shall they go. And what gain do they have from toiling in the wind? Besides, all their days they eat in darkness, in much vexation and sickness and resentment. This is what I have seen to be good. It is fitting to eat and drink and find enjoyment in the toil with which one toils under the sun. To the few days of life God gives us. This is our lot. Likewise, to whom all God gives wealth and possessions, to whom he enables to enjoy them, and to accept their lot and find enjoyment in them, this is the gift of God. For they will scarcely brood over the days of their lives, because God keeps them occupied with the joy of their hearts. So I think the as we read Ecclesiastes, I think for me it keeps coming down to what we see in 18 and 19 for the teacher. But this is what I have seen to be good. It is fitting to eat and drink and find enjoyment in the toil with which one toils under the sun, the few days of life God has given us. So, in other words, I think the thing he keeps returning to over and over and over again is finding contentment in the labor and in the purpose of that day. He starts off this chapter by saying, "Hey, be careful. Don't speak too hastily or speak too much. Be careful what you promise to God." And I think that's a very true concept in Scripture. Is the importance of our promises that we make to God. We should not make promises to God lightly. We should take seriously the promises we make. We shouldn't rush into them. I think that's why our membership vows in church are so important because we're making promises to God and to each other. And so we should, I believe personally, it's the way I was raised, that you want to just be very careful in the promises that you make because if you make a promise, you want to keep it to another human being, but to God as well. I don't want to make a promise to God that I can't keep. So, my membership vows to the church, my membership vows to the annual conference, my membership vows to my vows I make to God and altar my life. I want to be faithful to those vows, understanding that I will fall and fail and mess up. That's not to say that we expect to be perfect, but we need to take it seriously. So our vows to God matter. Our promises to God and to each other do matter. Um, Fulfill the vow. It's better that you should not vow than you should vow not fulfill it. Fulfill it. What does it say? Be careful making promises. Don't worry about the guard your house. Draw near to listen. It's better to sacrifice than the sacrifice offered by fools. I like that. Better to listen than to make sacrifices that don't matter. Listen. So take seriously our promises to God. But then he talks about how don't be surprised when you see wickedness and oppression. We live in a world where people do this. You look around the world today, don't you? And so often when we watch the news or have conversations or read, we see that things are not as they ought to be. And so we can grow discouraged at that, or we can understand that's the way it is and that we should work to make it better. So don't be surprised when things are imperfect. Don't be surprised when people don't act like they ought to. That's life, friends. Don't be surprised when it's hard. It's gonna be hard. We were never promised it'd be easy. So we see these things. And then he says some wealthy they have their money to their own hurt. It did their own then they lose it. And so just live fully today. And as much as I think the teacher is cynical, there's really something to that, friends. We don't know what tomorrow holds. There is so much anxiety about the future, isn't there? You know, get on social media, get on YouTube or TikTok or something. You're going to see so many people worried about the future. And that's not to say that the worries of the future might not come true. I'm not, this is not some kind of Pollyannish perspective that the future is only perfect. The future is not perfect. The present is not perfect. So if the present's not perfect, why would I expect the future to be perfect? I don't. But we can't control that, can we? All we can control as best we can, and then even that, it's imperfect, is what we do with today. What do we do with? You don't have control over what's happening in different places. And that's not to say that you shouldn't work. You shouldn't work to improve it. I'm not. This is not some kind of just pie in the sky by and by thing. I'm not saying we should wait on heaven. What I am saying is all we can do is be faithful. And if we are faithful with what we have in front of us today, that is literally all we can do. And I think that understanding keeps us from being crushed by the struggles in the world. Because if you think you've got to change the entire world today, you're not going to be able to. But you can be faithful with the task that God has given you today. And if you're faithful with the task God's given you, and I'm faithful with the task that God's given me, if we're all faithful with the missions in front of us today, then I have to believe God's going to work it all out somehow. Somehow. And our ultimate mission is to love God and love neighbor. So if you love God and love neighbor, and I love God and love neighbor, and we're all loving God and love neighbor, I have to believe through God's grace that somehow some good's going to come out of it. So don't be discouraged. We look at the world sometimes and we get so discouraged. We look at the news sometimes we get so discouraged. We look at all these things we get so discouraged and just don't do it. I'm going to get the quote wrong, but there's a quote I love about hope that we think of hope as some delicate thing, you know, some ethereal whisper. And hope drags herself off the floor, spits out a tooth, gets her fist ready, and gets ready for another round. Hope is not easily defeated. Cynicism wants us to give up hope. but hope is not easily defeated. So be faithful today. Be faithful today. And I really believe God's going to work out all things for his glory. So love each other, love God, work for good. God will take care of it. Have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow.